What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Front Range Aquascapes. Today we're doing something really special, at least something special to me. I am setting up my first quote-unquote professional Nano Aquascape. And if you'll see behind me, we've got a brand new bag of aqua soil that was mysteriously delivered to me. Somebody ordered it for me off Amazon and had it delivered. We also have a few types of in vitro plants, and even though you can't really see it, we also have a 2-gallon 20 centimeter cube from Lifeguard Aquatics. Not sponsored, I bought that with my own money, but we're going to go ahead and do something with dragonstone or okostone, whichever you want to call it, spiderwood, and some different plants. We've got some Bucephalandra SP Brownie, we've got Rotala Vietnam H-Raw, we've got mini dwarf hairgrass. I've also got some Ludwigia Super Red that I'm going to take some cuttings out of one of my tanks and use. So yeah, we're going to have 4 or 5 different plants in this, and then some truly high-end aquascaping with, like I said, dragonstone, spiderwood. I think this is going to be something really, really special, but it's still not going to be unobtainable. Like, I'm going to try to keep this build to under $100. Everything included. That's tank, filter, light, substrate, plants, everything. I'm going to try to stick to right around $100 or maybe less than. We'll see how we go. Join along for the fun. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to clear some stuff out of the way, and then we're going to go ahead and put a background on this tank. And so we're just going to go ahead and flip it over on its front right now. And you guys have seen me do this before, but I'm just going to Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start arranging our hardscape. And for that, I have some really cool pieces of dragonstone and some really cool pieces of spiderwood. And one thing that I've already done is I've already gone ahead and glued 3 pieces of spiderwood together to make this little tree that I kind of want right there in that corner. All right, I think I like that, honestly. And I have never used this aqua soil before. This and the spiderwood were actually sent to me anonymously, so we're gonna see how it works. Now we are going to take a small amount and place it here in the foreground, but I'm going to sweep it away from the front glass, because I want the front of the glass like probably a ½ inch to an inch in, irregularly of course. I want sand, and just sand. So we'll just go ahead and make sure that none of this is up against the glass, because that just doesn't look right. Alright, and what I'm using here is just play sand from Home Depot. I've rinsed it really, really well to get any dirt and particulates out, and we're just going to go ahead and drop this here in the front. And I may end up using it as accents down the way. I don't know yet. We'll see where this evolves to. But I think I need to spread my aqua soil out a little bit better. And like I said, this is going to end up getting mixed, especially since this is going to be a shrimp tank, because it's only 2 gallons. It's not big enough for fish, at least not ethically. So it's going to be a shrimp tank, and they'll be picking through the sand and stuff like that. So this will end up getting all mixed up, whether I want it to or not. But at least we can start out with it looking pretty cool. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just continue filling in this front area here with sand to cover up the aqua soil. But only here in the front, because in the back it's going to be super, super heavily planted, and it'll all be fine. Alright, so I went ahead and broke up a small piece of dragonstone. We're just going to go ahead and throw it in for some contrast. And then there's some little pieces that we can throw in. Yeah, I think I like that. I don't think that little piece needs to be back there. I think right there, natural enough. Just wherever it falls. All right. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to find all the equipment for this thing and I'm going to go ahead and get a light put on it. I'm going to play around for just a moment with some other pieces of wood and see if this scape needs any more or not. Okay, I really think I like that. I really think I like adding that piece back there. Yeah, I think I like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that one down with just a little bit of super glue. So what I have for a light is I went online on Amazon and bought a Nano WRGB light. So it is a real WRGB. And it clips on here at the back. All right, and there we go. And the only problem is I don't know what color setting I'm on right now. Yeah, nope, that is the one I think I'm going to want, because that is white, red, blue, and green lights. But once we get it set up, we can go through and play with the different spectrums and see what color we end up choosing. Okay, so to go back on where I said that I'm trying to do this as budget friendly as possible while still using high quality things. The spider wood and the soil were sent to me, but I have gone ahead and looked it up and seen how much they are. The spider wood was like $16 for 8 pieces. I've used 4 pieces, so that's $8 worth of spider wood. The soil was $22 or $29, I don't know, something like that. And I've used about 1/3 of a bag. So we're going to go ahead and say that I've used probably $10 worth of aqua soil, and then probably $5 worth of dragonstone. So far we're still sticking with our budget friendly build. Like I said, I'm going to try to come in right around $100, but let's go ahead and start with planting now. And the first plant that we're going to use is actually a freebie because it came out of one of my other tanks. And it is Ludwigia Super Red. And I try not to go right up against the glass because that just makes for an ugly planting. So I try to go in like a 1/2 inch from the glass when placing these. And so I'm going to have a bigger bunch of the Ludwigia Super Red up in that top corner, but I do like to use the same plants on both sides of the tank when I'm planting, just to give it a little bit of a sense of symmetry. right, so there is that planted. Now we're going to switch over to our in vitro plants, or tissue culture, or whatever you want to call them. And here we have Eleocharis acicularis. Yeah, whatever. My Latin's not that great. But this is what we have. It's mini dwarf hairgrass. And this is an agar, which is the worst of the two substances that you're going to find it in. Because agar is a pain in the butt to rinse off. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go run this under the sink, and I'll be back in just a moment, and we'll start planting. So, that gave me 4 big clumps of mini dwarf hairgrass. And I'm going to go ahead and break these up into smaller clumps, and we're going to go ahead and show you how I plant tissue culture plants. So I'll take this one that's already broke off, and I just kind of roll it up into a kind of roundish form. And then there you go. And again, like I said, I don't go all the way up against the glass. It will go ahead and grow out there, but I find that it just looks really bad when it's pressed up against the glass. Okay, and see, you get a lot out of tissue culture because that was only one of the 4 little clumps that I have that I've done the planting with so far. I'm on my second little clump right now. So, like, you get a lot of individual plants for the money. And we'll see that more in depth here when we get into some of the other plants that are going in here. So, as you can see, with just 2 of the small clumps, we've gone ahead and pretty much planted out that entire front section. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and behind the rocks, I'm going to go ahead and stick some in there too, to just follow it through. There we go with all of the mini dwarf hairgrass. And I'm going to go ahead and give everything a spray down. And I'm going to go ahead and go prep the next tissue culture plant that we're going to be using, which is going to be Rotala Vietnam H-Raw. And I'm going to go get that cleaned up real fast, and then we'll start planting it. So once again, you can see that little $10 package of plants turned out to be just an absolute massive amount of Rotala Vietnam H-Raw. So I am not going to be using this entire packet in here, but we are going to go ahead and get started and use a decent amount, I'm sure. All right. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and spray down, especially because these are in vitro plants, so we do not want them drying out. I'm going to try to keep the front glass clear so you can see what I'm doing. And the last plant that we're going to be adding is Bucephalandra sp. Brownie. And I'm not going to be using a whole lot of it, so I'm going to see if I can just pick out the rhizomes from the agar and rinse it off in my trusty bucket of water next to me. Bus is an epiphyte, so that means, and it doesn't like a lot of direct light. So what I'm going to be doing with it is I'm actually going to be tucking it down into the cracks in the wood where it's kind of shadowed. You want to make sure that you don't put the rhizomes in the soil, which is why I'm sticking it into the cracks of the wood. Okay, and that's not going to stick by itself, so what I'm going to do is super glue. Alright, so like I said, I think that's all the Bucephalandra that I am going to use. Let me take a look real quick. Let me spray down. Yeah, I think that's going to look really, really good when I put water in it here in just a minute. And before we put water in it, I have this really cute little filter that I'm going to have to find an extension cord for. And since we're talking about budget, once again, I paid $9 for the little hang-on back filter, and I paid $10 for the NiCrew WRGB light that we're using. All right. Let me go get some water prepared for this, and we'll go ahead and get this all set up. One thing before we add water is I went ahead and added a few more small broken pieces of dragonstone that I found, and now I'm just going to sprinkle in a little bit of accent gravel just to give it a more natural feel. And I'm just dropping it from wherever and letting it fall where it falls. So I've already gone ahead and screwed up and put the water in too fast to begin with. and ended up washing a bunch of Aquasoil into my sand. So if I care enough about it, like I said, I knew it was going to get disturbed and mixed in eventually. So if I care enough about it, I will take a magnet and clean that all up. But there's a very real possibility that I'm just not going to care enough. So it'll be what it'll be. And I've already got the diffuser hung back there, as you can see, for CO2. I do not have CO2 ready for it. I'm going to be using a DIY CO2 on this tank because I use it on other tanks with amazing results. And I am using a 50-50 mix of tap water and RODI for this tank, just because it is going to be a shrimp tank and our water is super hard out here. So okay, and there we go. We are filled up with water. We are planted, and I will go grab a extension cord and the filter media, because I do have filter media that has been cycling in another tank for this little bitty filter. So I will go grab all of that stuff and we'll fire up the filter on this little tank and see what it looks like. Alright, so we've gone ahead and fired up the filter. Let's see if it quiets down, because if it's that noisy, I'm not going to be using that thing. Alright, and once it's done getting all the air out of it, it should quiet down. But let's go ahead and talk about cost now, because again, from the beginning I've been saying that this is going to be a budget-friendly scape. So we've got, I picked the tank up on sale, so it was $30 for the tank. It was $29.99. And then, like I said, I've got probably about $5 worth of rock, $8 worth of wood, so we're up to $43. About $10 worth of substrate, so now we're up to about $53. $10 for the light, $63. $8 for the, or $9 I mean, for the little filter. So now we're up to $72. And then I used about $20 worth of plants, because I used an entire thing of miniature dwarf hairgrass, and then I used half a thing of the Rotala Vietnam H-Raw and the Bucephalandra. So all total, we're at about $92, $91, somewhere like that. There are a few things that I'm going to do that is not necessary. For one thing, I know that this Aquasoil is going to produce lots of ammonia, so I'm going to go ahead and dose the tank with Fritzzyme, Fritz Turbo Start 7000. Not sponsored, I just love the way the stuff works. And that's going to go ahead and, with the already filtered, or the already cycled filter media, and then the Fritzzyme, that's going to go ahead and make this tank stable, hopefully pretty dang quick. But we'll go ahead and check in here in a day or two to see how it clears up and how it looks after it's been running for a couple of days. It's been a week since we set this up. I've been doing water changes, about a 50% water change every other day, because it is fresh aqua soil, so it's leaching a significant amount of ammonia into the water column. After every water change, I've been dosing with Fritz TurboStart 7000. Not sponsored, just love the stuff. If you notice the sunglasses, no, I'm not wearing sunglasses inside because I think I'm cool or anything like that. I broke my regular glasses, so it is what it is. But getting back to the tank, this is once again a budget high-tech tank. So everything in tank, lighting, filtration, aqua soil, hardscape, plants, all in, we're right around $100 US. That includes taxes and everything like that. While that's not the cheapest you can go, unfortunately this hobby is not an inexpensive hobby. It doesn't have to be a very expensive hobby, but it's not inexpensive. But in the last week, we've seen very real growth in pretty much everything, honestly. Everything is settling in and growing really, really well. The boost hasn't melted at all. The Rotala Vietnam H-Raw is growing really nicely. It's not coloring up yet, but it will. The hair grass is starting to root and starting to grow and expand. And the Ludwigia Super Red has immense amounts of growth. As you can see, I have added, well, I don't know if you can see from there or not, but I went ahead and added a CO2 drop checker so that I can make sure that my CO2 levels are where they need to be for the plant growth. It's probably going to be 2 or 3 months before I'm ready to introduce livestock to this tank. Because it's only a 2-gallon tank, it of course is only going to be a Neocardina shrimp tank. So I want to go ahead and make sure that there is a lot of biological food in there, basically, for the shrimp to eat. Currently, it has 1 or 2 pest snails that hitched a ride in with the Ludwigia. But other than that, there's nothing in there other than plants and water, which is good because, like I said, the new substrate is leaching ammonia like crazy. So I wouldn't want to have fish or shrimp or anything delicate in there at the moment. Let's go ahead and get you in so that you can see the tank for yourself. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Front Range Aquascapes. If you've managed to stick around with me this long, do me a favor. If I gave you any value, or if you found any type of value in this tutorial, go ahead and think about hitting that subscribe button, like this video, share it. That way I can know to keep bringing you this video. One thing that I am going to do is I don't want to build a YouTube channel. I want to build a YouTube community. And so I'm going to ask you, what shrimp do you think I should put in this beautiful little 2-gallon tank? It needs to be a Neocaridina, and that's really the only stipulation that I have, is that it needs to be a Neo and something that will look good in that tank. But anyway, drop those answers in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, remember, get them wet. Get in your tanks. Do something. Peace.